Folks, welcome inside the Rialto Theater here. We are joined by the lead guitarist for Tower of Power, celebrating the third annual Tucson Jazz Festival, Jerry Cortez. Welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Hi, Jake.
How are you, man?
Doing great. Even better, get to sit in your presence. How cool is that?
No, it's great to meet you. I've met few peeps along the way. I've met some of the cats, and it's always been incredibly invigorating. I want to start by asking you if you could talk about the rehearsal, the tryout you had for Tower of Power.
Oh, well, goes back to 2009, and Emilio Castillo actually asked me to join the band a couple years earlier, and then it turns out that there was a lead singer at the time that insisted that a couple of his buddies be in the band. So he won Emilio over and the rest of the guys, and then eventually that particular guitar player didn't work out,
right.
And I got asked to audition, and that was the December of 2009. Actually, I went to see them in July of 2009. They came to Salt Lake City where I live, and they came to the Salt Lake City Jazz Festival, and our lead tenor player in Tower of Power. Tom Pollitz, who's a dear old friend, I met up with him before the show, and he said, it's ironic, Jerry. The rhythm section had a meeting with Emilio last night, and they said, we can't play with this guitar player anymore. So it's ironic that you're here, because there's probably a good chance you're going to end up being in this band, or could be in this band. I said, wow, pretty cool. So then fast forward to 2009, I get an email from David Garibaldi, and he said, greets from the road, we're in Switzerland, and we're going to be home around the first week of December, and we would like you to audition. So if you're interested, I said, yeah, absolutely. So I get an email from David or Emilio's, one of the two, and they said, learn these 5 songs. And so I did. And
about 30 more.
Yeah, and I learned a bunch more, actually, because I just, like I was talking to you earlier, I just wanted to kind of get inside their heads and see what the previous guitar players were thinking, how they approached the parts, so I really got acquainted with a number of the songs. So at my audition, I played through the 5, and they said, do you want to play anything else? I went, yeah, how about this song, or what, I don't remember the title, and they go, well, we don't play that one. Well, what about this one? We don't know that one either. So it was several songs in a row. They declined because they weren't currently playing the songs themselves. And they said, then Emilio asked me, how many songs did you learn? I said, wow, 25, 30 songs. Said, wow. So it went really well. It was really, really fun. And one of the things that was so fun about it was just such a rush. I mean, such a powerful rhythm section. Rocco and David, Rocco Presti and David Garibaldi, and then Roger, man, he totally has that Chester Thompson approach to the book and all that, and just
the Lydian concept.
Yeah, well,
I mean, does he play B3 too?
He plays B3.
He kind of splits his brain in half, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. He doesn't do the bass pedals like Chester did, and Chester didn't always just play bass pedals. There were only parts of the show where he did that, but he could do that very well. Roger doesn't do that, but he's got a really strong left hand, and I know because I used to actually stand right next to him, and to me it was such a treat to stand right next to such a great B3 player, because it's like my favorite instrument in the world, man. B3. People ask me, so if you had to do it all over again, what instrument would you play? I always say B3. Well, and just B3. It's just such an amazing instrument of sound.
Talking to Jerry Cortez here, live at the Rialto Theater in preparation for Tower of Power's concert this evening as part of the Tucson Jazz Festival, 3rd annual. What you told me when we were walking on the street before, the idea that I'm just got fascinated by a picture of Bootsy Collins right there.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you talked about stretching out, the idea where you went to Emilio and said, listen, can we open up the bag a little bit? Can you talk about opening the bag and how the charts you wrote and how seamlessly that all came together?
Well, when I first got in the band, it seemed like they were doing kind of a limited set list to me, and they have 40 plus years of being in the business, doing records, and a lot of great records and a lot of great songs, and so my I approached Emilio and said, could we learn some more songs? And he said, sure. Can you write some charts for the rhythm section? Because there really aren't rhythm charts per se. There's horn charts for everything, but a lot of the horn charts don't have existing rhythm parts. I said, be happy to. So I got on the bus, put my headphones on, and started writing charts. And he saw that I was serious about it. And he goes,
Can you take apart one song that you wrote a chart to? How you put together a rhythm chart?
yeah, well, I don't hope I don't bore anybody. With
No, I mean, don't get too in the weeds. But I mean, like,
Yeah.
if you know you're writing it for Prestia and Garibaldi, but how much does personal style factor in, and how much does just the actual rudiments factor in?
Well, I must say, as far as the other instruments are concerned, it's not a lot of detail.
Right.
What it is there are details when it comes to rhythmic hits and things like that. I transcribe that in, but it's mainly a chord chart for the keys and the guitar, and and the bass. The bass knows which notes to play over the certain But I'm not writing out Rocco's bass part. I wasn't writing out David's drum part. David does that himself.
We love you, Garibaldi.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Get better soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so it's really just a chord chart with rhythmic figures written in. So
I dig.
yeah, so it's really kind of for the rhythm section, and often even like in big bands, a lot of times that's about as much information as the musicians get, and it's up to them to interpret it. So
Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts and give a little bit of an update to people? I've had people private message me about Mark and David's situation. You said they're both going to walk away from this. Can you talk about how they're doing right now?
well, just out of respect for their families, I'm not gonna. I can't put out too much information, but yeah, they are most definitely going to walk away from it. It's rehab. They both have some broken ribs, facial fractures for Dave, and that sort of thing. So, and they are healing, but it's going to be at least a couple months or more for David. But I'm not sure about Mark. The best news about him is he was supposed to have some major surgery, and he's supposedly not going to have that now. So I mean, that's all I can say. And then he's off the breathing tube. And that was as of just a day or two ago, Mark. So
No, absolutely. I mean, it was jarring news, but I would love you, Jerry, to talk about in your career. You talk about, I mean, you've been able to deal with the ebbs and flows of the music business. How much of it had to do with the fact that you really came up in a musical community? I mean, the guys that I've reached out to from the Bay Area that you know so well, we just talked about, Uncle Funky Biscuit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a community that was supported, and how much of that plays into your salvation and how much that feeds you? Because it's more of a bottom line thing today. I mean, you have to be your own. You have to sell yourself. You have to be your own businessman. You have to be your own manager, and the gigs are. So, can you just talk about the musical community? How important a musical community is to developing spiritual music?
Yeah, well, it definitely helps if there is some kind of musical community out there, and unfortunately there are places where it doesn't get supported, and that goes for symphonic musicians as well, blah blah blah, symphonies closing down, all that kind of stuff. I can't really address that, it's not my thing, but yeah, it's really difficult now. I was talking with my wife, who knows a keyboard player up in Portland, and she was telling me all the things that he goes through to book a band now.
Right.
And
what does he go through?
Not only does he have to try and confirm up the date with the club owner,
right,
who usually don't get back to him after several emails. Once they do confirm it up, they want to see him go on social media and promote it. And if it doesn't look like there's going to be people that have been invited that are going to be attended, sometimes he'll just cancel the gig. The club owner will. And the whole time my wife is telling me this, I said, yeah. Do you remember when I used to book that band? Do you remember when? And it was that band I was telling you about with that really funky drummer. I used to book that
Tucker.
band. Dave Tucker, yeah, wonderful drummer.
Russ Kunkel was in awe of Tucker.
He definitely was, man. Absolutely, he was in awe of David Tucker. Very funky drummer. So I used to go through the same thing, but at the time there was no social media, so I just had to book the band, and then after a while, this is what happens with freelance musicians who who will commit to a particular band, but if another gig comes along and it pays better, or if it offers, travel as well, then, that's the end of that person, or temporarily it's the end of them until that gig is done, and then you have to find somebody else. So eventually I just stopped doing it, because one of the last gigs we were supposed to do was in San Rafael at this little place called, I don't even remember what it was called, it's on the tip of my tongue, but anyway, just a little hole in the wall, but a fun place to play. And it was like, wait a minute, I'm the only original member in this band, everybody's a sub. And so I went, I think I'm done here. So I just hung it up. So I can't imagine what it's like now to have to
start out.
Yeah, to have to go through all that, and it is easier to communicate now with emails and texts and things like that. But you just have to make sure that the recipient's going to respond, because they often don't. And now there's the social media aspect as well with Clover, and that was new to me. I was like, yeah, I guess that probably is happening, because I'm just in a band that travels. There's a booking agent. We have a booking agent and a manager, and we have a tour app, and I look at our tour app, and it says, "Be here at this time." Sound, we have a sound check at 4:30. That's
Sure,
when our sound
right.
check is, and so I know that I have to be there, and there's a schedule. It's all laid out for me. I don't have to do that, So.
All right, here's a question for you. Can you compare the drumming styles of David Garibaldi and Bill Kreutzmann? Take Garibaldi first.
Well, David Garibaldi is a very technical drummer, and here's what I mean by that. He could play something, and it would sound like the most backwards, insane, funky beat. Just turned inside out, but just so cool. Your jaw would drop to watch him play this beat that most.
And that's the technical part of it.
It's so natural for him. Just
right.
It's just be so funky, and then he'll stop, and then he'll grab a piece of manuscript paper and a pencil, and then go, "This is what I just played," and he'll show it to you. So that's David Garibaldi. And,
but he has great feel too.
Yes, he does. He has a great feel, and part of the Tower of Power charm is that David really pushes and pushes the tempo. What I mean by that, so he's always on top of where the click actually is, and which really works well for me, because that's who I am too. I tend to sit on top of the beat. There are cats who play kind of right on it.
Right.
And there's the one drummer I have heard that really did play right on it was Jeff Porcaro. And
rest in peace.
Yeah. And David Tucker, the drummer I mentioned to you, he plays way back. He's more like a fat back drummer. Bernard Purdy would be like a fat back drummer, kind of pulling back on the beat. No, it's there. I'm pushing back on it. I dig. And David pushes it forward. And that's part of the charm, because we've had different drummers fill in for David, and they tend to be more of that fat back thing, and I don't think that it works as well with Tower Power. Part of the Tower Power charm is that it pushes, it's constantly pushing. It's exciting.
Did you? I mean, we were talking about Leland Sklar, Wolfgang before. Did you see Tower Power with Garibaldi back at Winterland?
Yes, not at Winterland, but I saw him play.
Were they still pushing at that time?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. You listen to the record. Put on What Is Hip.
You're right.
So start from the beginning, fast forward to the end, and watch how much faster it is. Again, that's part of the charm, man. It's a beautiful thing. It's a very cool thing.
When I listen to The Dead and I hear Garcia, it seems to me that Billy's playing he's playing with was Billy playing with you in Go Ahead? I mean, basically, it sounds to me like
seemingly.
Yeah, I mean, what is the magic of Kreutzmann? Because to me, like I told you before, and I mean this sincerely, between Morgan, Lidgerwood, Brent, and Billy, and it's not the most complex music in the world, but as a drummer, what makes him a unique drummer?
Like probably his randomness to the beat. It's just the opposite of David. Everything's really calculated with David, and with Billy, it's just the opposite. It's almost like he doesn't know where he's going to be next, but he always ends up where he wants to be. And that's the beauty of Billy. And like I told you before, his shuffle is, I just got to chill. Just thinking about his shuffle, how in the pocket and how and it's got that fat back thing. It's
So
kinda
he's behind too.
He's kind of pulling back on the beach. You know, just a beautiful lilt to it. You know, it just kind of lifts you up. And I listen to Truckin', and the best part of the song for me is Billy. Man, that groove, his groove is just like killer. And you know, I've got a kudos to Phil as well on bass, because he's right there too.
Well, I also often wonder how they. I mean, with Rocco and David, the groove is locked.
Yeah,
you know where the one is.
Yeah.
With the Dead, the game was to lose the one.
Yeah, for sure.
And then that was the. Can you talk about that just from your own point of view? Is it in the idea of losing of the fun, the adventure of losing the one, and then kind of having big enough ears to rediscover it as a group, and what that feeling is like?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, Tower of Power loses the one from time to time, you know? and for us, you know, I mean, to the crowd they probably don't notice it to us, but to us it sounds like a major derail, you know. But we you know, just kind of know how to pull it back, you know, and find ourselves and when you're in a group situation like that, you kind of rely on the drummer to kind of pull you all back in. Yeah, I just kind of watch the drummer wherever that is, you know.
Right.
But with Billy, it wasn't a strong factor, you know. It just depends on what kind of tune we were playing. Some of the most fun stuff I ever did play with Go Ahead is when we'd have our little free moments where it wasn't even about time. It was about us just playing as random and whatever, you know. We didn't even have a tonal center, you know. We just kind of like.
What is a tonal center?
A tonal center would be like a key. Like I told you, I met Bill Medley last night.
Yes, plug it, baby. Righteous Brothers, I'm on it. On it.
Oh man, and I just like ever since I met Bill Medley last night, I can't get "You'll Never Close Your Eyes." That's just that beautiful voice, man. Those opening notes of that song, man, just kill me, man. I was like, I'm done right there, man. His voice is so cool, and that melody is so cool, and I continue to quote it myself in different musical situations, man. It's just beautiful. I'll just pick up my guitar and go boo doo dee doo doo doo. It's amazing. So that's a tonal center. So if I go boo doo dee doo doo doo, that's another key. Same melody, same arrangement of notes. Do 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 do. That's what I mean by tonal center.
And so in Go Ahead there was nothing like it.
So sometimes we would have those moments where okay, we're just going to be free right now, and it would sometimes I can't remember. It seemed like there was a tune or something, like it might have been Dear Mr. Fantasy. We just took a left turn, you know. And some of us turned left, some of us turned right.
Morgan was the one that Morgan told me that he was the one that hipped the band to the chord changes. It was Fantasy, Hey Jude. And then back into, and basically the Dead adopted that after Go Ahead was.
Oh yeah,
they took it over.
Yeah. That's very cool. Yeah, we used to do that. That was fun. No, it was a great feature for Brent and Alex. We were such great singers, and they sang so well together.
Did you sing? Man. You were 3-part harmony though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And
so
I mean, how did that?
Were you the
Bob? We had 4 vocalists.
Yeah. See, I don't register Bobby. I'm just in that 3-part harmony before we were joined. It was. Were you the middle and Brent was high, and how did that all work? How did that work?
Well, with Brent and Alex, they both sing. They both can sing really high parts.
Really high.
Yeah. But oftentimes, you know, when harmonizing, the lead part is a lower. Typically, you want to stack high harmonies. So Alex was typically, if I was singing backgrounds with Alex, he was usually higher than I was.
Yes.
Or sometimes I was higher than he was. It just depended on you know how the blend is. Because sometimes you'll have somebody who could sing higher than you, but the blend doesn't sound right. You know, their voice might stick out, that sort of thing. So we worked at it and just, you know, tried to find the best blend.
Yeah, I mean, because such a ferocious vocal tandem, and then throwing you in as a trio. I would love you to talk about what you think, why Emilio Castillo is a great leader.
He really knows how to organize and get.
He himself says that he is pedestrian player. He's probably above average, but he admits
Right.
that he's not. He is not. You know.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I didn't mean
So
to cut you
and
off.
you know, and he's not needed for those things. He's a section player, and there is such a thing as a section player, somebody who plays really strong parts, can be heard in the mix, can sing background vocals as well as he does. He sings backgrounds in every song. He's constantly pulling the horn out of his mouth, singing a part, putting it back in, you know, playing some more horn parts, singing again. So you'll see him do that tonight. But as a leader, he's just very strong. He's and you know what's really what I love about him is that musically speaking, as a leader, that's really what's most important is that he lets people be themselves. I remember when I my first rehearsal with the band, I played a Bruce Conti-esque solo on What Is Hip, you know, because it has this signature bang doo doo bip. I mean, that's just like that's a hook, and to this day I still play that. But the rest of it is me. To me, that's just like that. That hits that song. It's like you'll never close your eyes. It's the same thing, you know. It's that hook that draws you in. Yeah. It just draws you in. So,
but I bet he said to you something along the lines of play Jerry Cortez.
Yes, he goes. I don't. You don't have to play it like Bruce. I want you to, you know, be you, be yourself.
Right.
And from that point on, I try to each night stay true to the school, you know, like play the parts, but they're meant to be embellished and worked with. And oftentimes I'll play something and Amelia will turn around and go, nice, you know, I have this kind of thumbs up, and you know, and vice versa. There'll be something I'll try something, he'll look at me and give me kind of like huh? Yeah, kind of like, like that didn't go well. But you know, not that often. You know, he lets us slip too. He'll let us slip and things like that. So, but you know what? He really he's a great leader musically because he really knows. He has a vision of what this band sounds like in his head, and it comes to fruition with his leadership. It really does.
Yeah.
That's really a beautiful thing about him. So.
Can you talk a little bit about what a lot of cats? I mean, I interviewed Mike Clark on the radio today, and he's still learning every day. And
what a badass!
Badass,
Oh,
Mike
man.
Clark, badass.
Jeez.
And you know, and I guess I just wanted you to talk about what you're still learning, either as a entertainer, as a showman, in your own chops. What are you still trying to stretch out and learn about?
Well, I think hands down on top of that list would be playing melody. That's like the most important thing to me because I hear
Talk about that.
Well, constructing a melody that just like I said the you'll never close your eyes. That's such a beautiful arrangement of notes. So it's all about, you know, this is what I'm talking about in soloing.
Yes.
So when I solo, I'm always striving to have that solo say something and go somewhere and draw a listener in. So I'm constantly in search of the perfect melody or just a nice melody, you know, something that says something.
This is important. Rick Murata told me that he was playing with a dude. He knew he was a great player in the studio scene in L.A., and the dude loved to just kind of, for the lack of a better word, he was wanking it for 15 or 20 minutes, but he was a good player.
Yeah,
right.
Sure,
okay.
sure.
And so. At a certain point, this guitar player approached Rick and said, "Hey, do you want to do some live gigs together?" And Rick said, "Under one condition, that you cut the solos down, so we can play 20 or 30 songs, and in 4 or 5 minutes each. And I don't want to be playing one song for 20 minutes." They have some rehearsals. It's going well. The dude's listening. Rick's having a good time. They go out. First solo. The dude's waiting 15, 20 minutes. Rick's yelling at him, "Stop! Cut it! Cut it!"
Yeah.
All right. Can you, how important is it for you to be able to say what you need to say in a short period? Is that part of the goal too? Be melodic, but say it in a short period of time?
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, we have longer times than others, you know. Say, for instance, like a country here, like country songs, so much of it is like, cat gets like 4 bars and the steel player comes in. Then the mandolin player, so it's like, hit it and quit, man. They got to get in really, really quick and say something, you know. I have a little bit more time than that. I'm usually not trading off with another player, but and vice versa. If I have to say it in a little bit of time, I really do try and take my time. I try not to wank.
Yeah,
'Cause
so
I don't like when I hear stuff back and I go, that was total wank. I didn't say a damn thing. It had nothing to do with anything. But I know at the time how I was feeling. I was known as like, you got to go for it, MF. You know.
Okay, but for younger cats out there all over the world, what goes through your head in order to slow down your brain in order to say something slowly when you're in the middle of a live setting?
Oh yeah, I try not to think about things like that. I try and just so it's a
So
matter
don't think.
yeah, it's really about not thinking. It's really just kind of being in the moment. And another thing that really, as far as the young cats go, listen to everyone on stage. What's happening beneath you, underneath you, because let it lift you. Let it be a part of how you communicate. Because you can play off other people playing. The drummer who's not even playing anything melodic, just something he does rhythmically. There's something that we do in What Is Hip. I have a 8-bar solo at the top of the song, and the song goes on, and then we go to another section of the song. Adolfo plays 8 bars in a totally different key, and then it comes back to me in another key, and I totally go off what almost 99% of the time it's like, what did Adolfo just say? I'm gonna let that be a continuation of what he just said in a different key, and so I'll either take elements of what he did rhythmically or melodically, and I'll say it again or turn it upside down, whatever. I let it feed me. So it's so wonderful to in this band too. There's so much going on. You have to listen. You have to be a good listener.
One final question for you is: can you talk about a gig or group, a band where your ears grew the most?
Oh boy.
And we can take this all the way back as far as you want to go.
Sure. Well, I would probably say the Beatles, man, because I just probably devoured their music more than anyone else, But then fast forward to Tower of Power. Fast forward to the first time I heard Tower of Power. My dad came home with their first album. I think I told you this before, and it's like, put this on. You guys will dig this. And
on the San Francisco label,
David
Rubinson, Bill Graham,
East Bay Grease, man. I was like, what is this? And what really fascinated me about the band is how much was going on musically. There's so much going on. How are they not stepping on each other?
That's right.
It's mind blowing to me how they're not stepping on each other, and for me to be a part of that now, it's just really a beautiful thing.
But in the live, so once you came out on your own, I mean, we were talking about the idea, I forget the band you mentioned when we did our interview a couple months ago, but a live context where you had to listen in order to avoid clutter and make sure that even if there was a lot of communication, you'd stay out of each other's way. Where can you talk about even a random band that you were in where you felt like your ears grew?
Yeah. Probably the band City Section that I talked about.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that was just really high musical content. You just like really high quality. Just all the players, David Perper, Nate Ginsburg, David Morgan, Alex Lidgewit, and myself. It was just wonderful chemistry, and we really respected each other as people and musicians, and it came across when we played.
That was a Toto. You guys had sort of envision yourselves being a rhythm section for acts that might come into the Bay Area.
Yeah, that was kind of our idea. But we ended up just going out and playing shows and having a great time with each other. And you know what, I got to say, I might have mentioned this before, but man, some of our greatest times were like our sound checks when nobody was even there. It's like, man, too bad nobody's hearing this. This is good. This is really high quality, So it was just on a really high level. And
is respect on the music? Is it as simple to say that respect in music is listening?
Yes.
Does it go deeper than that, or I mean, when you say, because you had played with those cats. Well, had you played with all those guys before City Section?
David Perper and Nate Ginsburg, yes, and then David Morgan for a minute. In fact, all those people I just mentioned were Jesse Colin Young's backup band for a minute.
Morgan was in Jesse Collins?
Jesse was.
I can't.
Yeah, for a minute. And when I say a minute, I want to say probably of like maybe a half a dozen shows at the most. And then Jesse went, screw this. And because this whole time, our drummer David Perper was really trying to get Jesse to like. We're in the 80s now. This hippie love dove whatever. It's over, man. It's the 80s
it's
now.
Guitar Hero.
It's the tight pants and
oh yeah.
And to put that acoustic guitar away, you're a lead singer now. You know, I mean, he was really kind of trying to give Jesse some direction, you know, and come up to the times. And Jesse was falling for it for a minute, you know, and I thought he actually did a really good job at it for a while. And then finally it just dawned on him, it's like, you know what, man, screw this. This is not me. This is not who I am. And I'm done doing this. I don't want to do this Jesse Collins Young band anymore. And he goes, Jerry, he asked me in front of everyone else too. He goes, I just want to do acoustic music. And he looks over at me and he goes, Jerry, you interested?
And you took the gig.
I did. I ended up doing 3 records with him too. And the first record I did with him started off with just the 2 of us, and it was so nice. But then he started having a little bit too much fun with the drum machine. And to his credit, he really knows his way around a recording studio. He had a really nice recording studio in Marin County up at his place, you know. And he knew what he was doing, but. It just, you know, it's like, I thought you wanted to do acoustic music, man. And he brought it back to the 80s with a drum machine, and, you know, I don't know, I thought it kind of fell apart. It would have been a really nice record if it stayed acoustic.
There was some Indian Puddin' and Pipe was a band that was in this. Rubinson loved him. Herbie played piano on it.
Oh, nice.
Rich Keatonall was talking to me about it, and he was talking about the original lead singer Rufus Miller.
Yeah.
But then you chimed in and said, "Can I play?" And you said Emilio was the original singer for Tower Power.
Yes.
So let's break that down.
Well,
on the record, very clearly on the record.
On the record, it's Rufus Miller.
Yes.
And then Rick Stevens actually is on that record too. He sings lead on "Sparkling in the Sand."
But you're telling me that in those early...
on the early days, before they had Rufus Miller, Emilio Castillo was the lead singer. Yeah. And they had... I can't remember the order, but they were originally... So you might hear Emilio talk about this tonight when he introduces Rocco. He talks about how far he goes back with Rocco. They've known each other since 1965.
Right, the Extension 5.
The Extension 5, and they were the Black Orpheus, and they were the Roadrunners, and then there were the Motowns, and then there was something else. There was like 5 different bands, and I probably have them out of order, but and then it was Tower of Power. So and that whole time, Emilio was the lead singer. And I've told you, I think I mentioned that if we've ever been in a pinch, and it's happened before, our lead singer can't be on the bandstand for some reason, Emilio has stepped in and can sing the entire show. It doesn't matter what set we do.
That's badass.
I know he is.
And he sounds good.
He sounds great. He sounds really good. He knows all the tunes, and he knows how to bring in a new lead singer. You know, it's like you're coming in here. You know, here's the lyrics. You know, we've had different subs come in too that haven't quite done their homework for the lead singer. You know, and Emilio has to. You know, the guy's scrolling through his iPad trying to find the lyrics. We've already started. Emilio's already started singing the song. It's like, dude, find your lyrics, will you? So that's happened too.
Well, Jerry Cortez, let's get out to the sound check. Much love to you, man, and keep rocking in the free world. And for everybody out there, thanks for tuning in live on Facebook. This is Jake Feinberg Show. We'll be back later. Take care.